The calm before the storm. The vast emptiness of space stretched before Earth, a quiet and peaceful silence, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. On the planet below, humanity carried on with their everyday life, unaware of the monumental events taking shape behind the scenes. The bustling cities, the busy factories, and the ordinary citizens had no idea of the secret that was brewing in the shadows. Earth was preparing for war, a war that would change the galaxy forever. For centuries, humanity had lived under the watchful eyes of the alien empires. The most powerful of them all was the Galactic Empire, ruled by the ruthless alien Empress, an extraterrestrial leader whose arrogance and cruelty had allowed her to control vast swaths of the galaxy. She believed her empire was unstoppable, its rule absolute. In her mind, humans were nothing more than a weak, insignificant species that could easily be dominated and controlled. But the Empress had underestimated humanity. Earth's leaders had long known that they would eventually need to defend their home. They had heard the whispers of alien invaders, seen the destruction of other worlds, and understood that their time would come. But Earth was not ready. Not yet. For years, humanity had quietly and secretly begun to prepare. Under the radar, hidden from the prying eyes of the galaxy, they had built something incredible. They had begun constructing a fleet of 200 supercarriers, massive ships designed to be the backbone of humanity's military might. These supercarriers were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were built with the most advanced technology Earth could offer, capable of carrying entire armies, fleets of smaller ships, and weapons of unimaginable power. The human government knew the stakes were high. The alien empires would never let Earth rise up without trying to crush it. But they also knew one undeniable truth. They had a secret weapon, their supercarriers. General Carter, the leader of Earth's military, stood at the control center of one of these ships. He looked out of the vast observation window, staring at the peaceful Earth below. The blue planet, bathed in the soft light of the distant sun, seemed unaware of the storm that was brewing. Carter knew the danger that was coming. The Empress had underestimated humanity for too long. It was time to show her just how wrong she was. "Everything's ready," Dr. Tran, the chief scientist, said as she approached him, her voice filled with a quiet excitement. "The supercarriers are fully operational. The fleet is ready for deployment." Carter nodded, though his expression remained grim. The time for secrets was over. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. But Carter knew the challenge they faced. The Empress would not go down without a fight. Her fleet was powerful, and she commanded the galaxy's most advanced technology. Still, Earth had one thing she didn't expect: unity. "We can't let her see us coming," Carter said, his voice low and steady. "The element of surprise is our only advantage. Once we deploy, there's no turning back." He turned his gaze back to the supercarriers, massive, imposing ships, each one capable of holding thousands of soldiers and weapons. Each carrier was more than just a ship. It was a fortress. Together, they represented humanity's last stand, a final challenge to the alien empires that had long looked down on Earth as insignificant. As the fleet prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Carter thought about the years of preparation, the sacrifices made by countless individuals. The supercarriers were a symbol of humanity's strength. It wasn't just about weapons or technology. It was about resilience, about survival, and about fighting for a future against all odds. But even as Carter felt a sense of pride in their preparations, a nagging feeling lingered at the back of his mind. What would happen when the Empress discovered the fleet? How would she react when she realized that humanity, a species she had once dismissed, now held the power to destroy entire fleets? In the royal palace of the Galactic Empire, far away from Earth, the Empress sat in her command center, surrounded by her most trusted advisors. Her eyes were cold, filled with the fire of a ruler who had never been challenged. For centuries, her empire had ruled without opposition. She had crushed rebellions, destroyed entire worlds, and maintained her dominance through sheer force. The galaxy had bowed to her will. But today, something was different. She had received reports from her spies, from the far reaches of the galaxy, that something was stirring on Earth. A fleet of massive ships was being constructed, far larger than anything humanity had ever produced before. Her advisors spoke nervously, each one trying to make sense of the rumors. "Your Majesty, we believe the humans have begun to build a fleet," one advisor said, trembling slightly. "It is unlike anything we have ever seen. They are calling them supercarriers." The Empress sneered. "Supercarriers? Humans? They are nothing. They cannot challenge my power." But even as she dismissed the reports, something inside her stirred. There was something about the human race that made her uneasy. They had always been weak in her eyes, but they had a way of surprising her. Their resilience, their ability to rise from the ashes, had always been a source of irritation. "What are they truly planning?" the Empress asked, her voice cold. No one had an answer. Back on Earth, Carter and his team stood ready. The time was coming. Soon, the fleet would be deployed. And soon, the Empress would realize the truth. Humanity was not a species to be ignored. But for now, there was silence, a calm before the storm. The awakening of Earth's fleet. The night sky above Earth was eerily silent. There was no sign of the turmoil that was about to unfold. For the people below, it seemed like just another night. The stars twinkled in the distance, and the moon hung like a quiet witness to the calm before the storm. Yet high above, in the dark void of space, humanity was about to show its power. The supercarriers had been lying in wait for years, their hulking forms concealed behind Earth's moon, far from prying eyes. Now, as Earth's leaders prepared to unleash their might, the time had come to awaken the fleet. General Carter stood in the command center of the flagship supercarrier, his face a mask of determination. The countdown had begun. "Initiate deployment," Carter's voice echoed throughout the command center. He felt the weight of the moment as he gave the order. This wasn't just about a military action. This was a statement. The human race was no longer content with being overlooked. One by one, the supercarriers began to light up. Their engines roared to life, sending waves of energy across the fleet. Each ship was massive, much larger than anything most of the galaxy had ever seen. The sheer size of the fleet was enough to make even the most hardened generals pause. These were no ordinary warships. These were floating cities of destruction, capable of striking fear into the hearts of even the most powerful alien forces. The sound of engines filling the air seemed like a distant thunder, growing louder and more powerful as the ships prepared to break free from the quiet darkness. In the distance, Earth appeared small and fragile, but the ships surrounding the planet were anything but. Across the galaxy, in the palace of the alien Empress, her advisors were on edge. News of the fleet's movement had reached her ears, but she had still refused to believe it. How could such a weak, insignificant species pose a real threat? Her empire had conquered countless worlds, crushed countless civilizations. Humanity had been nothing but a minor annoyance, until now. "Your Majesty, the reports are becoming more detailed," one of her advisors said nervously, his voice shaking. "The humans have begun deploying their fleet. The supercarriers are leaving Earth's orbit." The Empress did not react at first. She had dismissed such news as baseless rumors, meant to cause unnecessary alarm. But as the details continued to flood in, her expression shifted. There was something about these reports that made her uneasy. She stood up from her throne and walked toward the viewing window, staring at the vastness of space, where the tiny speck of Earth resided. "You think they are capable of challenging us?" she asked coldly, her voice filled with disdain. Her top generals hesitated, unsure how to answer. The Empress was not a ruler to be questioned, but even they could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "We believe they might be," one of her generals spoke up. "These ships, they're unlike anything we've seen before. If they truly have 200 of them, they could pose a significant threat to our forces." The Empress laughed, a sharp, biting sound that echoed through the room. Humanity is weak. They cannot challenge my empire. Let them play their little games. We will crush them, as we have done with so many others. Despite her words, a small seed of doubt began to form in her mind. For a moment, she couldn't help but wonder, what if this time the humans were different? Back on Earth, Carter and his team were watching the stars, waiting for the next phase of their plan to unfold. The Supercarriers were now in full motion, heading toward the edges of Earth's atmosphere, ready to deploy into open space. Each ship was carrying enough firepower to shift the balance of the galaxy, but the true strength of humanity lay not just in their technology, but in their resolve. They had fought too long, struggled too hard to let anyone, alien or otherwise, hold them down. All systems are go, Dr. Tran reported, her voice steady despite the immense pressure they all felt. We're ready to proceed. Good, Carter replied. Now we show them what we've built. We show them that humanity is no longer a species to be dismissed. It's time to remind the galaxy who we are. The Supercarriers began to leave Earth's orbit, one by one, forming a massive fleet of gleaming ships. Their hulls reflected the light of distant stars as they moved, and the power they radiated was undeniable. Carter knew the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. But the most important moment had yet to come. As the fleet moved further into space, the Empress finally acknowledged the threat before her. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of fear. The reports coming from her spies on Earth were consistent now. 200 supercarriers, each one a fortress in space. The humans had kept it hidden, and now they were ready to strike. You were wrong, one of her advisors said, speaking quietly, almost afraid to meet her gaze. The humans, they've evolved. Their technology, it's much more advanced than we thought. The Empress didn't speak for a long time. She stared out at the stars, watching as the human fleet grew closer. There was no turning back now. The time had come for the Empress to confront the humans she had once dismissed as nothing more than a nuisance. The galaxy was about to witness the full might of humanity's supercarriers, and the Empress was about to learn that even the mightiest rulers can be overthrown. The Empress' fury. The cold expanse of space seemed to hold its breath as the human fleet advanced toward the heart of the galaxy. The supercarriers, each more massive than anything the galaxy had ever seen, were a symbol of humanity's defiance and strength. No longer would Earth cower in the shadows of alien empires. The humans had come, and they were ready to show the galaxy just what they were capable of. On Earth's flagship supercarrier, General Carter stood before the main viewing window, staring into the dark void ahead. The fleet had made it past Earth's atmosphere, and now they were in open space. They were heading straight for the Galactic Empire's borders, where the alien Empress ruled with an iron fist. Carter's heart raced, but his expression remained calm. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the moment when humanity would prove its power. He turned to Dr. Tran, who was at the command console beside him, scanning the latest reports. How long until we reach the Empire's borders? Carter asked, his voice steady, but with an edge of anticipation. We're still several days away, but the fleet is making good time, Dr. Tran replied, her fingers moving rapidly across the console. We've also received intel from our spies. There's a significant buildup of enemy forces along our path. They know we're coming. Good, Carter said. Let them come. We'll show them what happens when they underestimate humanity. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, in the heart of the Galactic Empire, the alien Empress paced in her throne room. The reports from her commanders were now crystal clear. Humanity's fleet was real, and it was approaching. But the Empress could hardly believe it. She had never imagined that such a small, insignificant species could build anything that could rival the might of her empire. They can't be serious, the Empress muttered under her breath. These humans are nothing. They are nothing but ants beneath our boot. Yet, as the reports came in faster and faster, a growing unease settled in her heart. She had dismissed humanity's rise for years, but this was different. The supercarriers were real. They were coming, and they were powerful. She turned to her top generals, who stood in a circle around her throne. Their faces were tense, the weight of the situation clearly pressing down on them. "What are we facing?" she demanded, her voice like ice. "How many ships are we talking about? And how strong are they?" One of the generals, Commander Valor, spoke up, his voice low but steady. "Reports indicate that humanity has 200 supercarriers. Each one is capable of carrying thousands of soldiers and an arsenal of advanced weaponry. They are armed with technology we've never seen before: energy shields, plasma cannons, and weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. Our spies believe they've been building these ships for years in secret. It seems that Earth has been preparing for this moment for a long time." The Empress' eyes narrowed as her fingers drummed against the arm of her throne. The thought that a mere species like humanity could pull off something like this was infuriating. She had ruled over countless civilizations, crushed rebellions, and wiped out species with a single word. Yet now she was faced with an enemy that refused to bow, an enemy that seemed more dangerous than any she had faced before. "No one dares challenge me," the Empress hissed, her voice filled with barely contained fury. "Prepare the fleet. We will show these humans what it means to face the true power of the Galactic Empire." Her generals scrambled to obey, quickly moving to their stations. The time for deliberation was over. War had come, and they would not let a primitive species like humanity disrupt the order of the galaxy. Back on Earth, Carter watched the fleet's progress as they neared the Galactic Empire's borders. Every ship in the human fleet was ready for battle. Carter knew that once they crossed into enemy territory, there would be no turning back. The galaxy would never forget what they were about to see. "All ships report ready, General," Dr. Tran confirmed. "We are fully prepared for combat." Carter nodded, his expression resolute. "Good. Make sure all personnel are at their stations. Once we're within range, we don't stop until we make our presence known. This isn't just about Earth. It's about showing the galaxy that we are not to be ignored." The vast fleet of supercarriers surged forward, cutting through the darkness of space like a tidal wave. With each passing second, the distance between humanity and the Galactic Empire shrank. Soon, they would be within striking distance of the Empress's stronghold, and nothing could stop them now. But the Empress wasn't blind to the threat anymore. Her fleet was mobilizing, and soon the first wave of her ships would be ready to intercept the human fleet. She knew it would be a battle like no other, one that would determine the future of the galaxy. As the human fleet entered enemy space, Carter took one final look at the stars ahead. There was no turning back now. The fate of humanity was in their hands. "Let's show them who we are," Carter whispered under his breath, more to himself than to anyone else. The first clash. The dark void of space was silent, save for the hum of the massive human supercarriers cutting through it. General Carter stood at the helm of the flagship, watching as the enemy territory loomed ahead. Each passing second felt like a heartbeat, and the tension in the air was palpable. The fleet was prepared, but no one truly knew what to expect. The alien Empress had ruled the galaxy for centuries. What if humanity's might was not enough to challenge her? "General, we are entering their space," Dr. Tran reported, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. "We've entered the first zone of the Galactic Empire. They're definitely aware of us now." Carter's jaw tightened. "Prepare for engagement. All ships, battle positions. Let's show them what Earth can do." As the supercarriers moved deeper into enemy territory, the communication system flickered to life. The alien language filled the room, a series of rapid clicks and hisses. The translator system quickly adapted, and a message was transmitted in clear English. "This is your final warning." A cold, mechanical voice boomed. "Turn back now, or face annihilation. You are trespassing in the sovereign space of the Galactic Empire. Your actions will have consequences." The message echoed through the flagship's command center. Carter didn't flinch. He knew this was coming. He had been expecting it. The alien arrogance was predictable. What they didn't realize was that humanity had evolved, and they were no longer the prey they once were. "This is General Carter of the United Earth Fleet," Carter replied, his voice cutting through the tension. "You've had your warning. Prepare to meet your fate." The message was clear. Humanity would not be intimidated. Suddenly, the vast darkness ahead was broken by a flash of light. The first wave of the alien fleet emerged from the shadows, a series of sleek, powerful ships that glinted in the starlight. There were hundreds of them, easily outnumbering humanity's fleet. The alien ships had an intimidating, almost alien design, with sharp angular edges and strange energy signatures. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the humans were outmatched. The Empress's fleet was enormous. But General Carter wasn't worried. The human fleet might be smaller in numbers, but their power was unmatched. Each supercarrier carried a devastating arsenal, enough to level entire planets if need be. It was a weapon they had built in secret, and now it was time to unleash it. "Lock onto their lead ship," Carter ordered. "Target their engines. Prepare to fire on my mark." The tension in the command center was unbearable. Everyone knew the first strike would be crucial. One wrong move, and the entire fleet could be wiped out in an instant. But Carter was confident. He had seen the data, studied the technology, and he knew what his fleet was capable of. "Firing on your mark, General," Dr. Tran said, her fingers flying over the console. "Energy levels at full capacity." Carter nodded. Now, a blinding flash of light erupted from the flagship, and the entire fleet followed suit. Streams of plasma and energy beams shot forward, cutting through the darkness like daggers of light. The first alien ship took the full brunt of the attack, its shields flaring bright before collapsing under the pressure. A massive explosion rippled through space as the ship disintegrated, vaporized by the sheer power of humanity's weapons. "Direct hit, target destroyed," Dr. Tran confirmed, her voice filled with awe. But the battle was far from over. The alien fleet retaliated almost immediately, launching waves of energy blasts toward the human fleet. The air was filled with the sounds of ion cannons firing, shields activating, and ships evading incoming fire. Humanity's supercarriers were powerful, but the alien ships were fast and agile. For every hit the humans landed, the aliens struck back with equal force. "Braced for impact," Carter shouted as the flagship rocked from a direct hit. "Return fire." The flagship's shields flickered but held, absorbing the impact. The ship groaned under the pressure, but it didn't falter. Humanity's supercarriers had been designed for resilience, and this was their moment to prove it. "Shields holding, General," Dr. Tran reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We're holding steady." But just as the battle seemed to settle into a dangerous rhythm, a new threat emerged. From behind the alien fleet, a massive warship appeared, larger than anything humanity had ever seen. The ship's hull was adorned with jagged spikes and strange symbols, and its energy signature was off the charts. It was clear that this was no ordinary ship. This was the Empress's flagship, the heart of the Galactic Empire's might. "The Empress is here," Dr. Tran said, her voice a mix of awe and fear. "This is the one we've been waiting for." Carter's heart raced as he looked at the enormous warship, now closing in on their position. The Empress had come to the front lines herself. This was no longer just a battle between fleets. This was a personal confrontation. "Focus fire on her flagship," Carter ordered. "We take her down, and the rest of them will scatter." The battle intensified as both sides unleashed everything they had. The human fleet fought with everything they had, their weapons cutting through the alien ships like knives. But the Empress's flagship was a behemoth, its defenses stronger than anything the humans had encountered so far. Even with their superior firepower, the human fleet struggled to breach its shields. The Empress's voice rang out across the comms. "You dare challenge me?" Her voice was a low growl, filled with fury. "You will regret this, humans. You are nothing but insects to me." But Carter wasn't intimidated. "We'll see who the insects are when this is over," he replied. The battle raged on, with both sides taking heavy casualties. The fate of the galaxy seemed to hang in the balance as the clash between the human supercarriers and the might of the galactic empire grew fiercer by the minute. And in the chaos of war, one question lingered. Would humanity's might be enough to crush the alien Empress, or would the galaxy continue to bow before her iron rule? The shattering blow. The battle had raged for hours, and the once beautiful expanse of space had become a war zone. The once quiet void was now filled with the sound of laser blasts, ion cannon fire, and the deadly hum of energy shields absorbing impact after impact. Both the human and alien fleets had taken heavy casualties, but neither side showed any sign of backing down. On Earth's flagship supercarrier, General Carter stood at the command console, his gaze fixed on the battlefield ahead. The situation was dire. The Galactic Empress's flagship was still intact, and its shields were holding strong against the barrage of humanity's weapons. Despite the incredible power of the human fleet, it felt as though their efforts were barely making a dent. "General," Dr. Tran's voice broke through his thoughts, "we've sustained serious damage. Several of our carriers are crippled, and we're running low on munitions. The Empress's flagship is holding stronger than we expected. If we don't do something soon..." Carter's mind raced. They were close. He could feel it. Humanity had come this far, and they couldn't afford to lose now. Not after everything they had sacrificed. But the Empress's flagship was a different beast. Its defenses were far superior to anything the human fleet had ever faced. "We can't stop now," Carter said, his voice steady. "We have one final option. A full, coordinated strike with everything we've got. All ships, prepare for the final attack. We break her shields or we're done." The crew around him nodded in grim determination, and Carter could see the same fire in their eyes. They were all in this together. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for Earth's place in the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be a forgotten species, a race of ants beneath the boot of alien empires. This was their moment to rise. The human fleet reoriented itself, moving into a formation that allowed all 200 supercarriers to concentrate their firepower on the Empress's flagship. Carter knew this would be a gamble. If their attack didn't break the flagship's defenses, they would lose everything. But he had no choice. Humanity had already lost too much. "Lock onto the Empress's flagship," Carter ordered, his voice firm. "Target every weak point we've identified. This is it. No holding back." For a brief moment, the entire human fleet fell silent. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then the massive supercarriers released their full salvo: plasma beams, energy bolts, missiles, and energy torpedoes, all fired in a coordinated barrage. The sheer power of their combined strike shook the fabric of space itself. The darkness of the void seemed to light up with the fury of humanity's might. The Empress's flagship, which had once seemed invulnerable, began to tremble under the intense onslaught. The shields began to flicker, then flare bright, their energy nearly depleted. The first cracks appeared in its defenses, and the first signs of damage appeared on the ship's hull. Humanity was getting through. "Direct hit," Dr. Tran shouted. "We've breached their shields. Their shields are down." Carter's eyes narrowed as he watched the results unfold. The first wave had done its job. Now they had to push forward. The alien flagship was reeling, but it wasn't defeated yet. The Empress's fleet, though badly damaged, was still a formidable force. They weren't giving up without a fight. But then, a new signal appeared on the fleet's radar. A massive fleet of reinforcements, far larger than anything the humans had anticipated. Hundreds of ships, all rapidly closing in on their position. Carter's stomach dropped as he saw the new threat. "They've called in reinforcements," Dr. Tran said, her voice filled with urgency. "We can't hold them off for long. They'll overwhelm us." "Not if we end this now," Carter said, his voice grim. He knew this was their last chance. "General, A communications officer shouted, his voice full of alarm. "The Empress's flagship is charging a massive weapon. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's preparing to fire." Carter's heart skipped a beat. The alien flagship was charging up a massive energy cannon, one powerful enough to destroy an entire supercarrier in one shot. They had mere seconds to act before it was too late. Without hesitation, Carter issued his command. "All ships, concentrate fire on the Empress's flagship. We hit it now or we die trying. No retreat." The fleet fired once more, their weapons aimed at the heart of the Empress's flagship. It was their final strike, a desperate gamble to end this battle once and for all. The energy beams struck the flagship's hull, and the results were immediate. The massive alien ship shuddered, its energy shield finally cracking under the intense pressure. Then, with a blinding explosion, the flagship's central core exploded, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The ship crumpled in on itself, debris scattering into the void as its massive hull buckled under the sheer force of humanity's attack. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then the alien fleet scattered. The remaining ships, realizing their flagship had been destroyed, hesitated. The Empress was gone. Her reign was over. "We did it," Dr. Tran said, her voice trembling with relief. "We actually did it." But General Carter wasn't celebrating. His eyes remained fixed on the wreckage of the Empress's flagship. He knew that this victory was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more battles ahead. The Galactic Empire wasn't just going to fade away. But for now, humanity had won a decisive victory. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity showed its power. "Continue the offensive," Carter said, his voice hard. "We're not done yet." The aftermath and the galactic message. The destruction of the Empress's flagship sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The once untouchable alien empire had just suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of a species they had long underestimated. The alien fleet, now disorganized and demoralized, had no choice but to retreat into the depths of space. With their most powerful leader gone, the remaining forces were disarrayed, leaderless, and vulnerable. On Earth's flagship supercarrier, General Carter stood in front of a massive holographic display. The wreckage of the Empress's flagship filled the screen, and around it, the remains of the enemy fleet floated in the void. He knew this victory wasn't just a win for Earth, it was a declaration to the entire galaxy that humanity would not be ignored. But this battle, while crucial, was only the beginning. "We've done it," Dr. Tran said, her voice still full of disbelief. "But the battle isn't over yet. There are still so many of them left. We can't stop here." Carter nodded grimly. "We've shown them our power, but this war isn't over. We've only struck a blow against the heart of their empire. The rest of their fleet is still out there, and they won't forget this." But something had changed in the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had always thought of humanity as primitive, weak, and incapable of standing against them. Now, the Empress's death had shattered that belief. Humanity had proved them wrong, and it sent a message across the stars. Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. Back on Earth, the victory was met with cheers, but there was also a deep sense of unease. While humanity had won a significant battle, the war was far from over. General Carter knew that the alien empire would not simply let this defeat go unchallenged. The real struggle was just beginning. The Galactic Council, which had long dismissed humanity as insignificant, was now in chaos. The Empress's death had thrown the entire balance of power into question. There was panic, confusion, and a desperate attempt to salvage what was left of the empire. On the human side, the victory had been a rallying cry. The galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of. And now the survivors of the alien forces knew that humanity would never back down. Carter turned to his senior officers and began issuing orders. "We need to regroup, reinforce our position, and make sure no enemy fleet can reorganize and counterattack. I don't want to give them a chance to regroup." They had won a battle, But Carter knew better than anyone that wars were not won in a single strike. The next moves would be crucial. If humanity couldn't hold its ground, if they couldn't press their advantage, this victory would mean little. The alien empire would return with greater force, more coordinated, and more determined than ever. "General," Dr. Tran interjected, her voice tense. "We've been receiving signals from the Galactic Council. They're offering peace talks. It's a tentative message, but they're asking for a ceasefire." Carter's eyes narrowed. He knew that the enemy was not offering peace out of goodwill. They were simply trying to buy time. They needed to regroup, rebuild, and recover. But humanity wasn't going to fall for a peace offer under these circumstances. "Tell them we'll listen, but we won't negotiate unless it's on our terms," Carter replied firmly. "We won't give them a chance to strike again when they're ready." The message sent ripples throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve. Now, they were faced with a choice: either surrender and accept humanity's rise to power, or prepare for the full wrath of a species that had nothing left to lose. Back in the void of space, the human fleet remained vigilant, their eyes set on the stars. The damage had been done, but there were still many battles to be fought. Humanity had taken the first steps to claim their place among the stars, but the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. Carter knew that the galaxy was watching, and the future of humanity was uncertain. One thing was for sure: there would be no going back. As the human fleet moved to position themselves for what came next, the communication officers began receiving more and more messages from the Galactic Empire's remaining leaders. They were scrambling. Carter could see the fear in their messages, the uncertainty, and the desperation in their voices. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer up for debate. "They're scared," Dr. Tran whispered, almost to herself. "They know we're not going away." "Exactly," Carter said, his eyes burning with determination. "This is just the beginning. We've shown them our power, and now we make sure they never forget it. We'll stand tall, and we'll make sure no one ever doubts humanity again." With that, the Supercarriers moved forward, ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy had seen the might of humanity. It had seen their strength, their unity, and their resolve. The Empire's days of ruling without opposition were over. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity was ready for the next chapter, the dawn of a new era. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The Galactic Empire, once thought to be an unstoppable force, now lay in ruins. The death of the Empress had shaken the very foundation of her empire. But as the human fleet stood victorious, the aftermath was far from simple. General Carter knew that although the Empire's reign had ended, the galaxy was still a vast, dangerous place, and humanity's new place among the stars had just begun to be written. The human fleet, now emboldened and unified, remained stationed in the heart of the enemy's former domain. The remnants of the alien forces were still out there, regrouping, recovering. The Galactic Council's tentative peace talks were ongoing, but Carter didn't trust them. The Empire had a long history of deception and manipulation. If they thought humanity would simply bow down to their terms, they were sorely mistaken. "General, we've received another transmission from the Council," Dr. Tran said, her voice calm but serious. "They're requesting a meeting. They're offering more favorable terms this time. They're offering full access to their technologies and resources." Carter stared at the screen in front of him. The offer was tempting. The Galactic Empire had advanced technology far beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. But Carter was no fool. He had seen what happened when powerful empires thought they could control others. He wasn't about to let humanity be subjugated, even if the terms appeared generous. "We'll meet with them," Carter replied, his voice firm. "But we meet on our terms. They want us to come to their table. They're going to have to accept that we're no longer the weak, helpless species they once thought we were." The message sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Humanity, with their supercarriers and unparalleled strength, was no longer a pawn. They were a power to be reckoned with. The meeting with the Galactic Council was set. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy would gather, and Carter would be there, leading humanity's delegation. The fate of the galaxy's future was now at stake. No longer would the Council hold all the power. Humanity would take its rightful place at the negotiating table. As the day of the meeting approached, Carter walked across the deck of the flagship, taking a moment to look out into the vastness of space. It was quiet now, the lull after the storm. The silence was a welcome reprieve, but Carter knew that it wouldn't last long. The Empire was broken, but other threats still loomed in the darkness of space. Their victory had proven one thing: humanity could not be ignored. But it had also proven that the galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. "We've shown them our power," Carter said softly to Dr. Tran, who had joined him. "But now we have to show them our wisdom. This isn't just about fighting anymore. It's about forging a future for humanity, a future where we're not just survivors, but leaders."